Is it beginning? 10 significant earthquakes rock California coastline as Mount St. Helens rumbles back to life. Authored by Michael Snyder via the End of the American Dream blog. It's on Zero Hedge by Tyler Durden, today's article. Scientists tell us that someday the big one will strike California and large portions of the coastline will plunge into the ocean almost instantly. In the meantime, California has over 13 volcanoes, one of them being the Long Valley caldera, which has had some bulging and seismic activity, if you see the previous videos to this one. And of course, Long Valley caldera is very close to Yellowstone supervolcano. Both of these are supervolcanoes. So now, could it be possible that we're a lot closer to that day than many had anticipated? Over the past several days, there has been a lot of shaking along the North American portion of the Ring of Fire, and particularly during the 24-hour period over the weekend, one area of California coastline was hit by 10 earthquakes of at least 3.0 magnitude, and this created such a stir that it made the front page of the Drudge Report. The following comes from a local California newspaper. 10 earthquakes of preliminary magnitudes between 3.0 and 4.5 struck off the coast of Northern California between Saturday and Sunday. This is according to the United States Geological Survey reports. And let's remember, the USGS reports earthquakes, but it underreports them. There are a lot more recorded earthquakes than are reported. Hopefully, all of this shaking will turn out to be nothing, but many are concerned that they could potentially be foreshocks of a larger event. Once the first quake hit early on Saturday, they just kept happening one after another. The first earthquake struck early Saturday morning at a magnitude of 4.3, while a second earthquake of 3.2 magnitude rumbled about only half an hour later. 3 additional earthquakes hit between 4.3 p.m., so 4:30 p.m. and 5:38 p.m. Saturday in the same area, registering magnitudes of 2.9 and 3.6. USGS reported a 3.0 magnitude earthquake struck that night at 11:37 p.m. The geological activity continued into Sunday. USGS reported 4 earthquakes near Petrolia between 2:18 p.m. and 4:05 p.m. The earthquakes ranged in magnitude from 3.4 to 4.5. So you can see that they're mid-range, going to 4.5. That's not a small earthquake. Further south along the Ring of Fire, Mexico was hit by an even larger Friday quake. Strong earthquake jolted southern Mexico Friday, rattling nerves, swaying tall buildings hundreds of miles away in the capital, but there were no reports of serious damage, injuries, or deaths. The USGS reported the quake had a magnitude of 6.6. It was centered about 10 miles from the city of Tapachula in Chiapas State and struck at a depth of 40 miles. If you follow work on a regular basis, then you already know that, he says, I've been regularly documenting dramatic rise in global seismic activity. The crust of our planet is cracked, and we're just floating on the pieces. Now those pieces appear to be getting increasingly unstable, and that could mean big trouble for all of us. I know that the weather is nice and that there are lots of good paying jobs out there, but at this point I don't know why anyone would still want to live along the California coast. In a previous article, he says, I shared a quote from a news story about a scientific study that had come to the conclusion that a massive earthquake, quote, could plunge large parts of California into the sea almost instantly, end quote. The big one may be overdue to hit California, but scientists near LA have found a new risk for the area during a major earthquake. They claim that if a major tremor hits the area, it could plunge large parts of California into the sea almost instantly. The discovery was made after studying the Newport-Inglewood Fault, which has long been believed to be one of Southern California's danger zones. And there probably will be little to no warning when it occurs. One day will seem like everything is just fine, and then disaster will strike. According to Cal State Fullerton professor Matt Kirby, It's something, quote, that would happen relatively instantaneously, end quote. Cal State Fullerton professor Matt Kirby, who worked with the leaper on the study, said the sinking would occur quickly and likely result in part of California being covered by the sea. Quote, it's something that would happen relatively instantaneously. Probably today, if it happened, you would see seawater rushing in, end quote. This is what Professor Kirby explains. In other words, by the time you have figured out what is happening, it will be too late. Of course, there's no mention here of the tsunami if it's a big quake, but going back to the article, meanwhile, scientists are alarmed by the drama that continues to unfold at Mount St. Helens. Most Americans think that it no longer poses an imminent threat, but the truth is that the area around the volcano has been very active in recent years. Since 1980, the area around the volcano has experienced tens of thousands of small earthquakes and numerous minor eruptions. Most notably, as of 2004, the volcano has been continuously erupting lava, which has created a large dome that is still growing. Scientists tell us that the dome is now taller than the Empire State Building, and that it continues to grow about 5 meters every day. 5 meters every day, that's a huge, that's just unbelievable. So here is really phenomenal, is how much rock is still coming out of the ground. It's now taller than the Empire State Building. 5 meters a day, more than 200 meters wide, and it's right here in our backyard. It's just a matter of time before we see another eruption like the one we witnessed back in 1980. We're talking about Mount St. Helens. We live at a time when global seismic activity is going to continue to increase, and North America is going to get hit particularly hard because the entire West Coast sits directly along the Ring of Fire. And if you have been a regular reader of my work for a long time, you already know that I am even more concerned about Mount Rainier than I am about Mount St. Helens, but that is a topic for another article, he says. I know that there are a lot of people out there that plan to leave the West Coast once things start getting really crazy, but when it comes to major seismic events, you might not get any warning. Hopefully there will not be a major seismic event in the U.S. in the very near future, but without a doubt, global seismic activity is on the rise, and all of this shaking on the West Coast has a lot of people very, very nervous right now. Well, you could look into the various seismic reports on stations around the United States for yourself to get the information that the quakes reported by USGS are underreported. The recorded quakes are a lot more than the reported quakes. And besides that, there are some scientists that have warned us that within the next 30 years, a big one will erupt in California. And they've also warned the Canadians, scientists have warned the Canadians that within the next 30 years, a big one will erupt on the West Coast, and that will affect, of course, Canada as well. And that specifically having to do with the Cascadia subduction zone. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Capota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.